Okay. So thank you everyone for joining us today for our webinar on using Actionstep as a practice management tool in your community legal centre. My name's Carly Hanson. I'm the Sector Sustainability Coordinator at Community Legal Centres Queensland. And before we get started, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we're holding today's webinar. In Brisbane, where I am based, they are the Turrbal and the Yagara people. I wish to pay my respect to their elders, past, present and emerging, and acknowledge the important role that Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people continue to play in our society. As today's webinar is being viewed by people throughout Queensland and Australia and New Zealand, where one of our presenters is based, I'd also like to pay my respects to the traditional owners of the land throughout the country and extend a very warm welcome to 21st Australians who are listening in today. So today we're really happy to have with us Disha Moses, the Customer Growth and Strategic Lead at Actionstep, and Greg Sando from WordCloud, Actionstep's implementation partner for CLCs. They'll be talking to us today about Actionstep, which is a complete legal practice management system built in the cloud with workflow at its heart. Actionstep hopefully will help you get rid of any centre administrivia and simplifies how you work. So you will always have the headspace and time to serve your clients well. So in today's webinar, Disha and Greg will provide a demonstration of how CLCs across Australia, like Consumer Action Law Centre, Mental Health Law Centre, Bayside Community Legal and others use the platform to supercharge their daily operations with powerful workflow technology. So the webinar will cover an introduction to the platform, pain points and requirements, a value proposition, reporting and integration with class, and help getting started, and is part of our digital capacity building series. So I'll let Greg and Disha tell you a bit more about themselves when I hand over in a moment, but just some housekeeping before I do that. Today's webinar is being recorded and we'll have the recording available to download for you later today or tomorrow. The PowerPoints have been emailed out this morning to everyone who registered and are also available to download from our website and on the handouts panel on the GoToWebinar screen. You can ask questions as we go through the presentation, and we'll manage all of those at the end of the session as we generally do. So just for people who haven't joined us before on these webinars, there are two ways you can ask questions. So you can press the button that looks like a hand. We'll see that hand come up at our end, and we can unmute you if you've got a microphone, or you can just type your question into the question box on the control panel and we'll read those questions out. So we also have some polls that we'll be running at the beginning of the presentation and at the end of the session. So I do encourage you to please complete those polls, as it will help our presenters tailor the session for you and understand your needs. So I'll run that first poll now and hand over to Disha. Thanks, Disha.
Oh, thanks, Carly. Thanks for the introduction. Greg, can you hear me all right as well? And do you want to say a quick hi?
Hello.
To the audience?
Hi there. Yes, I can hear you.
Great stuff. So just by way of introduction, I have been with Actionstep for the last 4 years, working with lawyers and legal professionals and making the right decisions for, I guess, practice management systems, alongside working with a number of the community law centres across Australia and New Zealand. So we have the community law centres in New Zealand who use Actionstep for their practice management needs. And Greg Sando, who is one of our most experienced Actionstep consultants, has been with us for over 6 years now, is also the ex-CIO of Minter Ellison. Greg has helped us implement over 300 firms globally on the Actionstep platform, including a number of CLCs who are already using Actionstep in Australia. He will be taking you through a live demonstration of the system following my quick presentation and introduction to Actionstep. And we'll also be talking to you about the class integration and implementation of the platform. Now, what we thought we'd start out by doing is really giving you a bit of our layer of the land in terms of the Actionstep offering, and also confirming your requirements and needs from talking to a number of members of the community. So Actionstep is an all-in-one practice management system. And I guess based on your requirements, we do understand that you are looking for, across all CLCs, a client intake form, where you do have prospective inquiries come in, and also a document sharing portal within each case. We also provide you with case management and powerful workflow technology, which can be designed and I guess suitable to your center. We also have document automation and storage. So this enables you to store any type and any number of documents. We basically do have a fair use policy, but there is no sort of limitation on the amount of and the type of documents that you store. And also helping you drive a lot of efficiency in setting up your own letters and templates as you start using Actionstep. We also integrate with Office 365, Microsoft Office, and G Suite. So it does provide a two-way sync to your calendar, enabling you to also file your emails from emails into Actionstep. We also understand from talking to a number of you that you are also looking for a task and deadline management system to ensure things are completed on time, and there is visibility over the new matters and who's working on them as well. Now, something that is in the works that Greg will be talking to you in more detail on is the integration with class, DEX, and the Attorney Generals, which we understand is a key part of your requirements for reporting, funding, and refunds. And I guess just to circle in on some of the other things that we've heard quite a lot from quite a lot of you is that the need for an all-in-one system, providing a very comprehensive case management system for not just your legal matters, but your non-legal matters as well. So I guess the best way for you to think about Actionstep is just not a practice management system, but a business management application that you could use from start to finish, alongside maybe a few other products like Office 365 that you may be using, and we'll talk you through the other third-party integrations as well. We also provide a client relationship management system. That means not only are you able to store your customers and clients in the system, but also any kind of other parties. If any kind of specialists or any kind of parties, they can all be stored within the Actionstep system. Also a key need, now whilst we do understand you use other data management systems, we understand a key need across all the CLCs is the consistent and accurate collection of data for matters, cases, and clients, and that is further used for better evaluation and reporting purposes as well, and that we understand this need for that consistent and accurate collection of data. So we'll be talking you through that in a second. Also client intake and appointment scheduling. So as you have your inquiries come through via your website or your phone calls, instead of using those Excel sheets and Google Sheets, we're going to show you how things are done within the Actionstep front. Also how you can manage your deadlines and tasks with some inbuilt workload management reporting. And Greg will be talking to you in more detail about the class integration, which is in the works. Now, we thought this would also be important for us to demonstrate to you in terms of the other third-party products that Actionstep talks to. We generally find a lot of CLCs using the whole Office 365 suite, which is pretty common. So that means integrating with your calendar and you being able to file your emails into Actionstep. With Google Drive as well. And the other thing that we'd like to also highlight is Zapier. Now, this is quite crucial, and I think would be a key one for some of you as you use third-party products, as Zapier is more of a mediator, which will integrate with other products that Actionstep may not directly talk to. So a good example of that would be if you are using, for instance, Salesforce, the CRM, or if you are using, say, a Calendly for appointment setting. Actionstep would basically integrate and send information through to Zapier, from Zapier into Salesforce, for instance. So if you create a contact record on Actionstep, we can have that replicated in Salesforce. And similarly with Calendly as well. And alongside a few other products that we talked to today. Now, I thought this would also be a very good and important piece of information to share with you. Now, at Actionstep, we believe in providing our users with extreme flexibility and agility to run their center or practice. So that means you're not locked into any contract. And what that means for you as a center is you have the ability to scale your users up and down as you please. So we'll be talking about the special pricing arrangement we have for the CLCs across Australia in a second. And we also do host your information in Sydney, Australia. So it's locally hosted. And anything that goes into Actionstep, we do want to assure you that you own the data, that it's your data, and at any given point you want a backup of that data, it can be provided to you at a free, as a free service as well. It does come with, the subscription will come with support services. So you have the ability to send us an email, call us, or send us a ticket for any inquiries. We do have a lot of user manuals to keep your costs low and have sort of almost that free continued training and information as needed. Also, your data is kept very, very secure. So Actionstep provides full encryption as you start using Actionstep and have different members of your team using the platform. And also, I think something very important to, I guess, identify is the use of password policies. Now, we do have instances where, some centers might want to restrict access of the Actionstep system to staff at certain locations or at certain IP addresses or certain times. So we use that as a measure to basically keep your data safe, that you may use to keep your data safe, and also provide things like two-factor authentication as well to ensure the security of your system. We also have permission-based users. Now, this is quite handy as you decide to have these information barriers or restrictive access to specific levels or roles of staff across different areas of the system. Now, that can be created and granularized to suit your center as well. Now, these are just some of our stats. So some of you are new to Actionstep or might have heard about us. We have over 10,000 legal professionals on the Actionstep platform today, with over 6,000 of them who are based out in Australia, our legal professionals. We have some pretty decent retention rates considering a lot of our users on Actionstep are not in any form of a contract. So we really have to earn their trust and their love every single month. And these are also some of our reviews on Captura about the Actionstep platform, about the value for money and I guess how well they've received the platform. Now, I do want to highlight that Actionstep is 100% web-based application, which means if you can think of us like internet banking. So Actionstep goes where you go, and it can be used on any device. Whether it's a Mac or a PC, a tablet. In fact, we also do have a mobile app for both Android and iPhones. So especially as we all manage COVID and work from home, this is really great to know that you can use Actionstep or access Actionstep if you're allowed from anywhere, anytime. Now, these are some of the centers, or I guess before we dive into showing you the centers who are on Actionstep, we understand these. This is basically the mix of the systems used, the data management systems used at this stage, where a huge percentage of you, we understand, are in Excel alongside a few other systems. And some of you also do use Class. And Actionstep currently is actively used by over 10 CLCs across. So these are some of the CLCs who are already using Actionstep, and we think they're really enjoying it. And we have another, I guess, 12 or 13 more CLCs who we're currently working with to basically assist them and perhaps bring them to the Actionstep platform. Now, I would like to hand over to Greg Sando to basically take you through a live tour of Actionstep. Thanks, Greg.
Thanks for that, Nisha. Good morning, everybody. I'm just getting my screen sharing for you. So I'm going to go through a live demonstration of a demo system that we built for today that actually shows you how Actionstep works. The journey that I'm actually going to go through here is going to follow along these lines. So we're going to look at a intake web form. We're also going to look at a way you can manually enter that if you don't use the web form functionality. and how we're actually going to process that through conflict check, and then I'll obviously manage that processes and what you can actually do within the case management elements of that process. We're also going to touch on the Office integration as well and show you how that actually works, because Actionstep supports the ability to store not only the data that you need to capture about the file, but everything else around the file, including documents and emails, so you can file directly from Outlook or edit your documents in Word, Excel, PowerPoint, that sort of stuff. So, whoops, I'm just going to bring us back here. So we're looking now at Actionstep. This is the home page that you land into when we first log in. So we've logged into any browser, and effectively we would land here. So I'm seeing my recent activity. I'm also seeing some scratchpad notes. These are like I call them yellow post-it notes, which we can capture on our mobile phone, even with our voice on the mobile phone as well. So you can dictate these and then maybe convert them into something a little bit more substantial once you get back into the office. They are in a public spot, but they're actually private to you. Across the top in the black bar, we've actually got our menu navigation here. And so this has been tailored and customized and using those permissions that Disha spoke to about information barrier. I've actually turned a lot of things on that maybe a lawyer or a volunteer may not see. So for example, I've got some management elements in here. I've got some data quality elements in here. And as Disha pointed out, with the Actionstep is a whole of business approach. So it can be used not only to manage the legal files, but also all other business processes. So I've got an example here of how we can actually create a file per funding agreement that you've got and manage the life cycle through that. There's also some down here as well that are self-evident. We've also got one down here called volunteers and how we can manage those volunteers as well. We've got a global search across the top here where I can actually just search for a contact, and basically I can see all the files that are associated with that particular contact. I can also see contacts with that name coming through, and I can also see more information about that particular contact. If I was to click on the contact and open the contact up, this will be the contact screen that would actually see all about the particular contact. You can see we can actually create custom tags. So we've chosen those text and we've chosen those icons, but you can choose whatever tags you want to categorize your contacts. Over here, we've got related contacts, so that you can actually create relationships between contacts, so how people are connected to each other. And if I come up here to matters, I can actually see every matter that this person actually is involved with, that I've got access to. So this particular contact has got probably nearly 60 matters connected to them, but I can only see 3. I can see that there's an intake matter, and this person is listed as the role of client name. I'm just going to start down the bottom actually to this alert bar down the bottom, right at the bottom here where I've got web form 8 and calendar 1. We'll get indications here based on either green or red, which indicate whether or not we're actually, I've got alerts. So calendar means I've actually got an appointment today. And so those are upcoming appointments. Web forms here is that I've actually received 8 submissions. Now I put these through yesterday in preparation for today, but there's been no submitted today. So I've got 6 submitted earlier. And when I click on that, I basically will bring up a list of submissions. So these are all the web forms that came through, and I can see the duration that they've been sitting here, and I can monitor that for productivity purposes. When I click on those records, it will show me the data that has been submitted via the web form. And this is a very, very simple sort of example. We can create as many fields as you like to be submitted on the web form. And in fact, the web form itself is actually created inside the form manager within Actionstep. So you can actually choose which fields that you want to create in Actionstep, and then which fields you want to expose on the web form. Once you go through the process, it will actually go through and actually do what we call a duplication check. And here it's found that there is the contact as a client, Brian Brown, it's actually already listed as a contact inside Actionstep. So again, this is helping with duplication. If it's a different Brian Brown, I can actually create a new contact and actually fill in all the necessary details of that contact record. Once the process here has been completed, it will create the matter. And in this case, we've actually got this link to a section called New Intake Received. This is highly customizable, so you can actually, this is where your case management processes come into play. And so up here, I've actually got intake, and you see here I've got new intake received, and then I've got what cases awaiting conflict check, cases are ready for allocation, and all intake matters. You may not intake files this way, you may do it in a different way, but that can be customized. This is just more of an example of what we've seen some organisations do, some centres do, but you can certainly do it the way you want to do. This is, think of this like a big Excel spreadsheet where you can apply filters, and so I can come up here to a filter, and I can actually use my filter to actually filter down based on any column that's in this grid to find information that I need to find. And often people actually use these grid or list views as a form of report. We can also export these out to Excel as well, and we can also have this result sent to us as an email every week or every day. So some organisations want to keep on top of how many intakes we've got from a managerial perspective, and so maybe they might want to receive a daily email of just a count of this grid, and so they can set that up for themselves if they want. Once we've received the intake and we'll process it, I'm going to now go actually into a file. Actionstep call them actions. This is of the action type intake. We've just relabeled them to be called matters. Each one will get a unique ID number, which is basically the unique reference for that, which I can then search for up in the top right hand corner to find the same thing, find this matter. With each action type has the ability to implement case workflow. And this is unique to your organisation and what you would like to do. And so here I've got a step here called New Intake Received. It went through conflict check, and now it's at a review stage. And after that review, we may accept it, or we may refer it out, or it's marked as not suitable. Another area of customization within every single action type is these tabs over the top, over the right here. And this is where you'll see some of the familiar fields coming into play. So client details has got 10 fields in it, whereas intake fields has got 6, and 2 of them are populated. The home page here, we can choose to move these things around. You can fix them if you want, so but each user could choose to minimize these things, then maximize them, choose not to have them. It's completely up to you whether you fix these or you make them flexible for users to build their own environment. But what we've done here is, instead of actually clicking on client details and waiting for that to come up, I can actually see it straight away as soon as they open the file. Whereas service details has got quite a lot of other information here, and a lot of you will start to recognize all these elements in here, and this is the class data set that is being loaded into Actionstep. You can also see down here I've got matter calendar appointments. Maybe I want to bring this up and get that more prevalent, and I'll talk about the calendar point in a minute. The green icons are basically the driving force of what you can do within the file. So I can actually click on the parties area, and I can actually see all the particular parties. Again, another area of customization. So we can actually have more fields here if you wanted to. Oh, sorry, more roles, I should say. The steps shows us the workflow history that has actually occurred. So I was on this step for 2 hours, and then that one for 11 seconds, and this one been on this triage step for 10 hours, and the orange ones is where I can go next. We can also capture file notes as well. How you use file notes is completely up to you. We also have some organizations that have a difference between file notes and case notes. So we can actually create maybe one of these tabs over here where it says service details, but call one called case notes. So we can then merge that out into a referral, for example. So if we're doing some sort of either simple or facilitated referral, we can actually do that. It was quite difficult for me to come up with some demonstrations. So this one here is, the client is called Jenny Moggy, who's got pets issues with tenancy issues because she's got 15 cats. So just having a little bit of fun with the demo here. We can also do tasks. Now tasks are very, very powerful. Tasks allow you to create, I suppose, elements of work that need to be performed by a given person by a given date. And so we can go and create a task. And that task, we give it a name. So let's just say it's prepare papers for court. I can choose that is going to be on the 31st of July. I can assign it to a particular person. I can also come up to the reminders tab to actually send an email reminder of that as well. But also, if this prepare papers for court, I could actually want to do that at least 3 days before court. So I can actually, if I've got it set up, I can actually make it relative to a data field. So let's say that I've got a clinic date here, and as you can see, the clinic date here, according to my calendar, is the 4th of August. So I can actually say this needs to be done 7 days, either before or after weekdays or calendar days. And so now I can actually save this, and that task now sits in here. I could also view my tasks across all my files by coming up here to incomplete. And we can also create custom lists of tasks based on your business processes. Those tasks will also appear down the bottom here in green and red. And you can see those tasks here as well. Documents and emails, I will talk about that and show you how that actually works in more detail. So this is a list of all our emails that are actually on the file. If I now come into the documents section, this is where I can store documents. Now, I haven't been too creative over on the left-hand side. I've only got one folder called Portal, but you can actually create as many subfolders as you like. I skipped the conflict check before. Conflict check, I've actually already got it open for the sake of time today. This is a result of me searching for the word able. So there's my search term there. And this is all the area here that I'm actually searching for the word able. So conflict is a really interesting one because the determination of a conflict is really up to an individual to assess the information that's available to them. And so if all the information is one system, the conflict check is therefore going to be a little bit more effective than it would be if all the data was across multiple systems, or indeed in people's heads, if you will. So this is searching the matters, it's searching the file notes, it's searching all that custom data that we saw, it's searching within documents and the document name as well. So every document you save is indexed, so therefore the word able may actually appear in the document, which it does show you down here. There's 2 documents with the word able in the document. It also searches the email content as well. So down here you can see, so I've got some emails, and I can click on any one of these to take me to that section. I can even save this as a PDF to the file. We've also got a portal functionality as well. And so the portal functionality allows you to actually share content externally. The portal looks like so to the external user. So this is Matter 343. And so if I just go over here to Matter 343 and I go to the portal, your side of the fence, we'll see that Helena has actually got access to the portal by us just ticking that box. And by removing that tick box and clicking save, then Helena does not have access anymore. You can see down the bottom here, you can see all the recent activity that's actually occurred on the portal. And we can actually post a message here as well. And that message will then basically be available here on this portal for the client. It's primarily used for document exchange, so you can actually see the documents here. So you can choose what folder names you want to expose. I've just created those as for today's session, and you can choose what permissions the viewer of the portal has got access to. So this one here, they can only download the document, whereas this one, they can upload the document. And as soon as documents are actually uploaded to the portal, down the bottom here, just like the web form notification bar, portal chat will indicate that there has been portal activity and also you receive an email if you are the responsible person on the file. So I'm just going to jump into Outlook as well now. So this is Outlook, and I've got a whole range of emails here, and you'll see some of them have got this little green tag here. This green tag indicates that the email has been filed into Actionstep. So it's very easy to see which emails have been and which emails haven't been. On the right-hand side here, we've actually got the Outlook integration. Now, this Outlook integration works with the 365 versions of Office 365. So this is obviously the desktop version, but I also can actually see the same thing if I go to the web version as well. So this is the web version of Office 365. And indeed, also this works on the mobile version of Outlook as well. So what I'm about to show you works on all three. Primarily, most people work with the desktop version, so that's what I'm going to stay with. So this email I want to file, and you can see there's already 3 suggestions coming here already. So the system is actually providing you suggestions for where to file. If I want to put it in this 343 matter, the issues with Afterpay, I can just click it once, and now that email has been filed into the file. Not only that, it's now given me a whole range of information about the file. It's given me an overview of the file, where it's up to, when it was last modified, who are the primary contacts, so here's that Helena person, and also the last file note that was actually created on the file. I can also come up here to parties, and I can actually see all the different participants that are actually on the file. I can also see all my file notes, and also all my tasks as well, and I don't have any on this particular file. So therefore I can actually create one from here. So these are the options that I can use to create a new file note or a new task if I wanted to. And then this would appear actually on the file. So from a case management perspective, I can really get all my email activity and the related activities that come from that inside to Actionstep quite simply. And if I'm actually sending a new message, I didn't actually set any of these up, unfortunately, today, but what we can actually do with a new email is we can actually use the same plugin here, and we can actually link the email on send, but also use a email template as well. By simply clicking on this little email icon, and we can actually select a template. And so therefore the contents of the email would actually be completely populated with the contents of that template that we have inside Actionstep. So they were the main elements that I wanted to go through today. What I'll just do is just talk about quickly the class integration. So I just bring back my slides. So these are the elements that I went through today. So integration with class. So we are working directly with CLC Australia and to actually get a tight integration with Actionstep. It's nearly completed, so it's I don't actually have a complete release date, but we're talking weeks, we're not talking months. And what the integration will do is 2 parts. The first part is that when you subscribe to Actionstep, we will install a class compliant data template across Actionstep. So all those service fields, service details, all those data fields and all the data fields at the client level are all embedded into the product. And so then you don't need to worry about the compliance of those elements. All the drop-down lists have got all the compliant values ready to go. The only thing you would need to do is work out data migration and also work out what case management workflows you would like to have, or indeed actually add additional fields that you might actually want to have and work out how you want to manage your cases. The second part is actually the extraction to class. So there's a couple of steps in there. There's a little bit of a transformation of the data coming from Actionstep to make sure it's correct and accurate, and then providing that information back to you. This is the part that we are working on at the moment. This top part has more or less been completed. The second part to the extraction is obviously sending that to class themselves. Now, what should I say? Class the database. Now that's a new feature that CLC Australia has built, so there's going to be teething problems with doing all this automatically. So, but we are working as quickly as we can together to do that. So that's about it from me. Disha, I'll probably hand back to you if
Yes,
if you want to
absolutely.
take over control.
Great. Thanks. Thanks for the overview, Greg. Now, can you guys see my screen okay?
Yeah, that's working well, Disha, thanks.
Thank you. So I guess just to wrap up, and we're going to have a Q&A session in a bit. We just wanted to further clarify the next steps as you decide to either proceed with Actionstep. So what we would generally do is you could basically send us an inquiry on our website, and we would be providing our contact details at the end of this demonstration. But essentially, when you decide to basically proceed with the Actionstep platform, this is the journey that we take in getting you on and creating a system most suitable for your center. So whilst we do have pre-built templates for you to use, which really simplifies the implementation or onboarding journey, our consultants who is basically Greg Sando and his team to the like. So we'll basically be working with you in working out your requirements to create and further customize that base system and make sure you do have something very tailor-made and also work out all your sort of reporting requirements and provide you great advice with the system build. They also assist you with, alongside building your Actionstep system, they would also assist you in migrating any of your historic data from your current system into Actionstep. So the compatible format is Excel, or unformatted Excel, which is CSV, which will be included in the scope. They also do provide training for all your different staff, and they also we will continue to support you on the Actionstep platform as you continue to use and sort of develop the system further. Now, this is the pricing that we have especially for the community law centres in Australia. So if you were to go on our Actionstep website now, you would see the version of Actionstep that we have available for law firms is 149 Australian dollars per user per month. Now, based on the special pricing arrangement and the special offer that we have for you all, it is $50 a month per user. So we understand you have volunteers as well who come and go, and your FTEs who will be using Actionstep. And I guess what makes it really, more comfortable when you use Actionstep is that you do have the ability, as mentioned, to scale your users up and down. So if you have an employee who leaves, you can basically revoke access. So you're really using or paying for a system based on the number of users you have for that particular month as your bills are pro rata. And similarly for your volunteers as well, you do get this special pricing. And I guess with Workload as well, Greg and his team have also come to party in giving you guys a 35% discount on every Actionstep implementation that you do. And we've also worked out a pricing, which is a starting price of $490 Australian per user per month, where depending on what's needed and the configuration that's needed, we have CLCs who basically go for a term of 6 to 12 months. So I understand you would be getting a copy of this. I'm sure you already have a copy of this presentation, so we will be sending out a further summary of this call as well. And these are our contact details. So that's me from Actionstep. So we're more than happy to provide you with any product information and demonstrations. And Greg Sando and his team from Workload, who can provide you with further information on the onboarding and the implementation. So we do work as a team and we do talk to each other. So we'll be always happy to help you as needed. And we also have a special landing page for you guys. So this is a URL or the website link. You can alternatively also come on the Actionstep website, which is www.actionstep.com, and submit an inquiry, and we'd be more than happy to assist you. So that's it from us. I guess, Carly, we'd be happy to open up any kind of questions that people might have, if you like.
Excellent. Yes, lots of questions have come through, as you can imagine. Everyone's very interested in the Actionstep software, and thank you, Disha, for taking us through the summary, and Greg for the demonstration. I think it's really handy to actually see how it's working in practice rather than just hearing about what it can do. So that's really fantastic. So I might go firstly to a question from Jonathan, who is interested in how Actionstep syncs with appointment booking and rostering software. Would you be able to, I can flick that over to Greg or Disha? Yeah.
Greg, I think.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. Absolutely. So I didn't actually cover the calendar side of the system. So I might just share my screen back if I can.
Yeah, I'll just do that for you. Won't be a tick.
Thank you.
Okay, you should have that there now, Greg.
Yeah, we can see a screen now.
You can see the Actionstep screen, yeah?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, great. So there's two parts to calendaring and also automatic booking. So we're actually doing very similar with our own business, actually, to schedule things. So we actually recommend a product called Calendly. I'm not sure if people have actually seen this product. It's a separate product. It's not part of Actionstep at all. And we just feel that this is actually quite a good, simple and cost-effective solution. There's plenty of tools out there that work with Office 365. And effectively, this product will actually then do all your booking needs. So whether it's round robin here or collective, or based on availability or slots, you can put all different buffers in and limits of that you can accept for a day. So you would manage all the complexity of your requirements here. And then once a person has actually booked, you can put that on your website if you wanted to. You will receive an email to say it's confirmed, and the appointment would then appear in your calendar. Now, because all calendar appointments here are synchronized with Actionstep, then you actually see that inside Actionstep. So if I now come up here to calendar, you'll see those appointments coming into Actionstep inside here. So, so if I was to open this green one up, for example, this one here would be already sitting here. Now, I can optionally link it to the file if I wanted to. I don't have to, but I can optionally link it to the file, and I can also invite other attendees.
So that's really good, because you can then go inside the matter and look at how many appointments you had, because you can come in and connect it to the matter. It's quite nice. That's
right. So if I just come over here, I can actually now come down to here. I can see the initial discussion here on the 4th of August. So there's a lot more questions coming through, so I'll probably just leave that one there and jump onto the next one, Carly.
Great, thanks, Greg. So there's a few questions I'm going to group together just around that conflict checking aspect, because that is obviously a major part of what we do with CLC, is receiving so many requests for assistance. So yes. Greg, I know you showed us the conflict check page. So Rebecca's wondering how you got to that page, and also Claire is wondering how the intake communicates with the conflict check within class.
Yep. So using Actionstep, all the data would actually be in Actionstep. So Actionstep would become your one-go stop for conflict check. You wouldn't technically need to do your conflict check in class, because the data from Actionstep will be going across to class. So we're still working with CLC Australia as to bring the data from class into Actionstep as well. That is certainly doable. We haven't reached that point of the project, but we've certainly worked with with organisations in Victoria to get class data out and actually import that in. So that is very much feasible. So Actionstep will then have a lot more data to perform the conflict check, so you can actually now perform the conflict check. And then the class integration is really to ensure that the data goes back to class. So Actionstep becomes your driving system rather than class being your driving system, should you choose it. The way I got to the conflict check is by up here under reports, and I've actually bookmarked it here as a favorite, and I just click here. And you can see here is the search. I've got an advanced tab here as well, so I can actually limit the area. So sometimes organisations want to do a light conflict check rather than a deep conflict check because the information can be overwhelming. So a light one might be, do we actually know able? And so that's a form of conflict check. Do we actually have able? But also what I could do is I could actually say, I'm going to search for matters, file notes, and I'm going to exclude documents. I'm going to that. So I'm going to exclude that. I can save this as a configuration over here, so I don't have to keep coming here. I can just click on one thing. So now if I do search able, then that will be restricted to that area.
Great. Okay, I think that also answers the questions that have come through from Nat and Drew just around avoiding dual conflict checks and, needing to sort of double up on that piece of work. So I'll just take those ones as answered. Thank you. So there's a couple of questions that have come through. Sibel, I can see that you've got your hand up, but you've popped your questions into the chat box. So I'll go from those ones. If you've got additional questions, you can pop them in there as well. So Sibel from Caxton, and I think these are sort of probably questions that many people would be thinking about because we don't just really have a very good solution in the CLC world around managing and rostering volunteers. So is that something that can be done with Actionstep?
Yeah, so effectively the volunteer management that I've done here, again, Actionstep is a customized platform. So we can actually build things to what you need. So, so down here, I didn't actually go into it. So what I've actually got is a file per volunteer. So it's not really rostering them on, it's more of understanding what volunteers do we have available. Think of it like a big spreadsheet. What days are they available? What process in the onboarding process or offboarding process that you want to do. Within the volunteers themselves, we can actually capture custom data. So here I've got police certificates, so I can see the expiry of those things, and then obviously I can come down here and actually just say, show me all the volunteers where the police certificate is expiring soon. And so therefore I've actually got two, and I can see that September and October they're expiring. So it doesn't really do a rostering as such. I want volunteer one to be available on this particular day. We could look at that and go into the detail and see what we could come up with for that, because as I said, Actionstep is quite a very, very flexible platform. So we just haven't come across that need, but we certainly have come across the need to actually manage the individuals themselves.
So like a volunteer register almost.
Yeah.
What you're referring
to.
Yep.
Yep.
And I imagine similarly you could use that to manage staff if you wanted to use a little bit of a HR system or sort of track, whether staff and volunteers have been through inductions and that kind of thing.
Absolutely. So I've got that one just hiding under here under management called employee files. And so each employee file, I wish we all got paid this sort of money, but we just put dummy data in here. But if I was to actually look at Amy Pritchard here, that's her, I suppose, electronic employment file. Now I've got nothing shown on the homepage because of permissions have been put on there, but I can actually there's a lot of things restricted because I'm logged in as a CLC lawyer rather than a manager, so I can't really see too much. But certainly you can do file notes, you can record disciplinary information, just like you can manage any case file, you can manage an employee file as well. So just like a, I suppose, electronic version of the physical file that you have in the filing cabinet.
Great. So Janet's asked whether you can use the document sharing portal to share documents with a pro bono barrister, and if so, would the barrister be classed as a volunteer user? And I'm thinking this might be a question around whether that person would need to be paid for as a volunteer would be. But I'm imagining you could do it in a similar way to sharing documents with a client. Would that be right?
That's exactly right. So the portal is actually free for anybody who needs to access the portal. So you don't pay any extra for using the portal or people using the portal. The only charge is actually the person logged into Actionstep themselves. So so I'm logged in as a user, so therefore there's a license for me. When we set your system up as part of the case management, we configure the portal to allow access to a particular area. So for example, in this one, I've said any contact that's listed as the primary contact can have access to the portal and then have access to these particular document folders. So I could actually have one called Barrister down here if I wanted to, but if there was another person, so I'm just going to choose Veronica now. So Veronica is now added as a contact person. If I now come up to the portal here, you'll see Veronica's here, and now I can give her access as the primary contact, and that person's now got the access to the portal, so we can actually do a whole range of those. So,
okay. Excellent. All right. Sorry, Disha, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, just I guess very briefly as well, is that the version, or I guess the plan of Actionstep that CLCs do receive, it's one of the most high-end plans of Actionstep. So if you were to go on our website and look at the most high-end plan with all the bells and whistles is what you get. So it's this is a standard built-in feature alongside a few others here.
That's really good.
I probably might just quickly just finish off. There's a couple of questions I just saw come in there about the document. So I can create as many folders as I want inside here. What we've also done for the portal, you can just see these little green globs that are actually, which is actually this icon here, but very, very tiny. So these are the folders that I've created to share with the primary contact. So as part of the setup of this action type, I will actually create as many folders as I want, and then I'll share them to as many participants or roles of people that I want. But internally, outside of that folder structure, I can create a new folder structure. So if I say key documents and then add, I'm just adding another folder. And these can be templated as well. So when we actually open a file of this type, these folders get created automatically.
Okay, great. There's a couple of questions that have come through about precedents and template, documents. So that's from Danielle and Chris. So can you set up precedents and templates so that the client and metadata auto-populates into letters and other documents?
Absolutely. So you can do that from email and also from actual documents as well. So we're seeing a very, very big trend of a lot of documents that were traditionally documents are being sent as email. So email templates are even more powerful than documents. So I can come here and go generate. I didn't actually create any sample ones for this session. So everything I've got here is probably not really relevant. So we've actually uploaded some here in our sample system. I can give the document a name, open it in Word and generate, and based on the coding of this document, and this is all the customization we can do, and we can also teach you as well. We're very much about passing the baton over to you guys when you're ready to receive it, to actually understand how to configure this, how to change it, and how to be flexible and respond. We've got a CLC in Victoria who was able to win new funding because they were able to go back to their system and use the knowledge we gave that to them and actually add additional fields in straight away, knowing full well that they could actually do that, and therefore they receive funding as a result, whereas all the other CLCs that attended were still asking questions of their database provider. So up here, if I go to email from within the product, but generally now we do it directly from Outlook, but you can certainly do it from here. You can see here I've actually got email enclosing confidentiality agreement. I don't know what I'm going to get here, so I apologize if there's errors, and there is errors here, so let's just get rid of those for embarrassment reasons. And here, obviously, I haven't got the first name populated on the file. So, so yes, we can use templates.
Excellent. So there's a few questions around integrations with other pieces of software. So Xero, WordPress, Word, and other things. So would you just use Zapier to do those integrations, or are they sort of inbuilt?
Okay, so I'll answer each one separately. So, so Xero, Actionstep actually does have an accounting system inbuilt. We've actually turned that off under this login, so we don't actually show it. We can actually record time. You can record that as non-billable or billable. If you wanted to do self-funded work, that will then go into the accounting system, which, as I said, I was turned off. You could also choose not to use that accounting system, but those billable entries to go across to Xero. So there is a integration directly with Xero, so you can actually send that across. That's not a problem at all. With Word, absolutely. So there's multiple ways to use that. I can come here. I can edit this document in Word online if I've got 365, which is our recommended functionality, or you can actually open via OneDrive, which means it'll basically you get the features of OneDrive, which allows you to automatic save, so every keystroke is saved, but also you can share that document via OneDrive as well. This one is opening up with just a traditional local Word. This is local Word as well, but you just get the OneDrive features. So we'd recommend to do that, and that will just launch Word for me. I edit the document, press save, it goes back in, and it does keep a history of the versions as well of the document edits.
Okay, good. So there's a couple of questions that have come through about reporting. So class has some pretty good reports that our funding bodies require. Are you able to show us reports or talk us through how they work with Actionstep?
I've actually turned majority of the inbuilt reports off. A lot of CLCs actually come up with their own requirements with different reports as far as we use these list views as a form of report to actually extract this out to Excel, and then you can do whatever you like with it. We've also got some CLCs who require a little bit more sophistication with that, and so you can actually build and use Power BI, whether you're using Power BI against the Excel extract, or you can actually turn on the extract service from Actionstep, which means Power BI could actually, or Excel or any other reporting tool could actually talk to that extract that is in a separate database. And that certainly is going to be something that will be enabled as part of the extraction to class. So we really need to drill into, the reports is always a tricky one because there's always, everybody wants something new. And so there's no dedicated report written for the CLC as such. And as I said, I've turned majority of those reports off. So if I go here to reports list on matters, I've only got a few reports that are probably relevant to CLCs. But these elements here, these can be used as a form of a report as well, if customized correctly. And if failing that, we'll go to the extract capabilities. Therefore, it's limitless as far as the number of reports, and some of the stuff that we've actually done for some CLCs is quite impressive.
Great. So look, there's about 20 or so more questions in here, so I'm not sure whether we'll be able to get to everything today, but what I thought I would just check in with Disha and Greg is whether you'd like me to launch the last 3 polls before we and then maybe come back to a few more questions, because I know that some people may have to leave if they've got clients.
That'll be great.
All right, so I'm just going to launch these 3 polls. So if you could just, people that are still on the line, pop your answers into the polls when they come up. So you shall see this one coming up now, which is how valuable did you find today's session? So I'll just leave that open for another 10 seconds or so as they come in. All right, great. Okay, I might close that one up and share those results with you. And hopefully, Disha and Greg, you can see that. But lots of people saying, 4 or 5, heading to the very valuable end of the spectrum, which is fantastic. So I'll just close that one down and go to the next poll. So you should see this one come up now. How likely would you be to move to Actionstep in the next 3 to 6 months on a scale of 1 to 5? So again, I'll just leave that one open for another 10 seconds. All right, they are coming through. All right, I might just close that one up and share that as well. So this is probably because it's a new system for many of us. So many sort of hovering in that middle range, but lots of people who are pretty keen beans to move over into Actionstep. So I'll hide that one and launch the final poll as well. And this potentially might give an opportunity to address some of the sort of nitty-gritty questions that you may have about how the system integrates or works or could work for your centre. So and I'm sure that Disha and Greg would be happy to line up a demo with you if you're interested. And many, many people are interested by the looks of this, so 93%. So I'll just hide that one again. Knowing that people have to go, that's fine. What we'll do is perhaps if Disha and Greg are happy to stick around for another 10 or so minutes, we'll try and address a couple more of the questions that have come through. Would that be okay?
Yes.
Presenters? Excellent. Okay, yes. Great. And so this will all be recorded, so if people need to leave, you can pop back in and check out the remaining answers if you need to. So having said that, Deirdre has asked how the class ID fits into the system when a client is created in class, they receive a unique identifier, and it seems that Actionstep does a similar thing. So would the client then end up with 2 unique identifiers, or can they be matched?
It really depends on the situation with the client. So the answer is yes and no. I'm being very much a politician there because the data coming from class will have an ID, and that can be stored against the contact inside Actionstep. But the data going to class, we're working with with the class data engineers to work out what we're actually going to do there, because at the moment it's really not necessary to actually create a class ID on that contact, because it's going to be a one-way sync to Actionstep, from Actionstep to class. It's not a two-way sync. So having that class ID is only relevant there because we've got the information coming from class in the initial upload. But moving forward, the class is just going to be a data warehouse. It's not going to be an interface that you would use. You would use Actionstep. So the class ID will become quite not needed, if you will. So, but we're still working through the details of that just to make sure, and that's all part of the complexity of the integration with data synchronization. So stay tuned on that one, Deirdre.
Okay, thanks, Greg. So there's a few questions that are coming through on pricing, so I might just try and deal with these ones together as well. So
yes.
Drew, who works in a small CLC in Queensland, or is on the management committee for that centre, is asking whether you could give a price on total costing for 4 users over a 12-month period, and how long does the discounted price of $50 per user per month last before it reverts to the full price, or does it stay at that CLC pricing for the life of the agreement?
Sure, I can take that if you like, Greg.
Yep.
So I guess from a vendor side with Actionstep, we've actually had this special pricing for the last, I'd say, 1.5 years. So it was a mental health in Western Australia centre who actually started out with Actionstep, and we had a special arrangement which was approved by a CEO, Ted. Now, since then, we have had a change in pricing and increase in pricing of the standard Actionstep subscription, which actually hasn't at all affected the original offer that we have provided, which is the $50 for your full-time staff. So if you have 4 full-time staff, you're looking at 50 into 4, which is basically $200 a month plus GIST for your full-time, staff. And we're not looking to change the pricing anytime soon. I guess to the best of my knowledge, there's nothing in the works at this stage. But I guess if things do change, you will be informed, but it would never be the full pricing, which is on the Actionstep website.
Great. Jeremy has asked whether there's a different price point for part-time lawyers.
I guess with that pricing, we've actually just thought about, 2 types of, staff, which is basically full-time and volunteers. So I imagine your part-time, lawyers who come in would actually come under the full user category, I would imagine. because if they are recording time or things need to be tracked as individually for them, I guess that same price would apply. Our original pricing is $149 per user per month, which has been actually drastically brought down to $50 per month.
Great. And Chris is wondering, I think this is more a question potentially for Greg about word cloud pricing. So the setup cost being the $490 per month, is that per user or per center?
Yeah, very good question. So we put that up there. That is our what we call our basic implementation. So the basic implementation has a very, very fixed deliverables that each center would need to agree that that's what they want to achieve the implementation of Actionstep, and also the training. So that includes basic training, basic implementation, and also basic data importing. So it also comes with a range of what we call a bucket of hours. Think of it like I suppose a mini bar tab that you can actually draw it down upon to do additional things that are outside of that scope. The difference between the 6 and the 12 months is that you just get more of those additional hours to use across that period of time. And we'd always recommend the 12 months, only because you've got more time to use it those 12 months, and maybe get used to the system after maybe 3 or 4 months, and then start learning how to drive the back end of the system. But some CLCs are quite complicated, and so those implementation methods are too small. And so we basically multiply those based on complexity of what actually is needed for the CLC. So really, it's not really one size fits all as far as implementation, because Actionstep is very much, I'm showing my age here, very much like a Meccano set, that you can actually build things the way that you want to work. And so it's built with a base, and then you can use flexibility of it to change things as you go. And you may, as you get new funding agreements, you might change it in 12 months time. So we want to share that knowledge with you to do that. So unfortunately, back to being a politician, it really depends. And so that's where we would work with you to work out your unique requirements and sure. And I'd say probably about 40% would, or maybe even higher, would actually fit into that 6-month standard, and probably around about at least 80% would fit into the 12-month standard, if that helps.
And that is the pricing per CLC, not per user, just to add.
Yes, thank you for that. Yeah, so it's per CLC, one charge per month, plus GST.
Great, thank you for that. Thanks for clarifying. So there's also a question, look, there's heaps of questions. I think I might just go to the ones where there might be a demo needed, because I think that's where I can get most value out of having you both here, if that's okay. Yes. So someone's just asked whether you could show how file notes or case notes work, Greg.
The file note case notes, sure. So if I just go into, I haven't got anything to show you with the case notes scenario. It really depends on what you want to do with those things. I mentioned the difference. Oh, sorry, I thought I put that on silent. But basically, the file notes here, you can create as many file notes as you want on the file. So you can do this from the Office integration. You can also do this from the mobile integration, and you can also do it from within Actionstep as well. So I can go up here and go new file note, and I can capture a file note. I can also categorize the file note with these, what we call tags. Now, it's completely up to you what you want to do with these tags, and you can actually choose multiple different tags. For example, here I've got one here called important note. So you can have as many file notes as you want. What we've done for a couple of centres where these file notes really are internal and can't be shared, so therefore using them on referrals has not been suitable. So what we've actually done is set up, we've got something here called criminal charges that might give you an indication visually. It is what we call a multi-row. So here I've got charge with, data charge, and plea. So if I go new record, I can actually create a new row. So if I just say charge, let's say that one, and no plea, And so imagine this, rather than being a drop-down box, it is actually a text box of unlimited data with a date and your name. And so whatever's in here can be merged onto a simple facilitated referral, whether that's an email or whether that's a document. So that's how we've handled case notes. Some people don't do that. Some people just put all the case notes inside the file notes.
All right, hopefully that's answered your question. Greg, we talked about this a little bit beforehand, but I think a specific question has come through about whether you can use Actionstep to create information barriers and if any CLCs have been doing that to date.
Absolutely, yeah. So there's depends on the level of information barrier you want. So this is already a demonstration of an information barrier because what you're seeing is not all the products. So before I mentioned, I searched for the contact John Abel and I went onto his contact record and I only saw 3 files. So we can actually use the permission functionality in Actionstep because this client's got 60 files. I know that. If I was to log out and log back in as a different role with different permissions, I would see all those 60 files. So there's quite an element of creativity that we can put to the permission model. And also not only for information barriers, but also for personalization. So this one here, this is all personalized for me as a CLC. If I was to go out of this and go in as, let's say, a lawyer, maybe I won't see anything of these management ones. Or maybe if I go out and come back in as a manager, I'll probably don't care about the intake or say the volunteers, I'll just see the management ones. So the permission model can be used to limit whatever you like, whether personalization or information barriers.
Okay, and at the end of a matter, Claire has asked whether there's a way for you to download all the data for a client if they're wanting a copy of their file. So is that something that's possible through Actionstep?
There is, but there is some limitations with that capability today. So from a documents perspective, you can come in and download them and en bulk. That's not a problem. You can certainly do that. You can also, there is a report which I've actually turned off under this permission, unfortunately, but there is a data export report that will download everything. You can also run a report on chronological history of the file as well. So you can run that report. And then if you need to, you can actually request at any time a full database backup from Actionstep. Now, it is designed for the firms who really, if for whatever reason they had to leave Actionstep, all the data can be sent back to you. I know it sounds strange to show you the back door when we were showing you the front door, but it's actually good to know that you can actually get your data at any stage. Now, I wouldn't suggest to actually use that feature for giving access to a matter because it's really like drinking from a fire hose, to be honest. It's massively built with all the data possible in the system. So you'd have to isolate that data, but sometimes that may be necessary. So, but there is talks of some tools coming out that you'll be able to point to a matter and actually just selectively choose what you want to actually make that process a little bit better. But I'd recommend using the portal as much as possible there, if possible. The other thing that some organisations have done is actually use the permissions and actually give them a license to the product. And so each one of these menu items can be permissioned down. So therefore, we don't want to show them file notes or tasks, but we do want to show them emails and we do want to show them documents. So when they log in, they have got very, very restricted access, maybe only read access to actually see what you want to show them and only certain files that you want to show them. So there's no need to extract it out into an unsecure environment, leave it in the encrypted Fort Knox, if you will, of Actionstep and then give access because it is on the cloud.
Okay.
And I guess to further add as well, as Actionstep is 100%, I guess, a web-based application, as long as you do have an internet connection, it's kind of changed the way a lot of legal professionals actually manage or work on their cases if they're out and about, as you can access Actionstep on a tablet or a PC or a laptop. So might mean that you probably stop printing. So that's something to consider if you have standard good reception of your internet.
Excellent. So I might just maybe go to the one last question as we are sort of keeping our presenters for a little bit longer than the original hour as planned. So I might just go to Peter's question here on whether Actionstep files can be divided into discrete sections, for example, correspondence, court documents, etc.
So could you just repeat that one for me?
So whether you can have a client's file divided up into different sections, so whether you can group, I guess, your correspondence together, group the court documents separately, that kind of thing.
So naturally, Actionstep's grouping them automatically based on the type of content. So all my file notes together, all my emails are together, my inbox is separate from my sent items, I've got my documents in a separate section, and then within that I can actually create separate folder structures within the documents area to isolate that. Yeah, so that's certainly possible. And just whilst I'm here, there was a feature that I forgot to mention, that to bring documents into here, you can use the upload button, but you can also drag and drop from your desktop as well. So if all your documents are sitting outside or maybe on a server or something like that, you can actually just bring up Windows Explorer and then simply just drag and drop a single document or multiple documents across into Actionstep. So you can also bring folder structures across as well. So you would zip up the folder structure into a zip file, and as soon as that zip file hits Actionstep, Actionstep detects that and automatically unzips that file. And then basically everything that's contained within that zip file, so it could be the whole matter with all its subfolders and all the documents stuff contained within that, would automatically appear in here. All that folder structure would be created automatically. So that's, we can also do bulk upload services for you. That's a separate sort of a quote, because we have to review your storage structures before.
And are the documents saved then in Actionstep, or are they saved somewhere else?
No, they're stored in Actionstep in an encrypted state, and so therefore they're accessible to from Word. So I can actually go into Word and actually open it from Word, so I don't even need Actionstep open. Or if I've got Actionstep open, which most people do, I can just open it directly from here.
And can they be edited live, or do they need to be sort of re-downloaded?
No, definitely don't need to download them at all. So if I just open this document here, it's launching Word for me, and this one's going through Office 365 OneDrive. We don't currently support SharePoint. I think there was a question there about that. And essentially that could be looked at down the track, but at this stage it is the OneDrive approach. So, oops. Sorry, I've got the Word on my other screen, but effectively the Word document has now opened. If I just drag that across, it's a really, really powerful document. There you go. So I can actually now just make changes, and those changes are automatically saved because I chose the SharePoint path. So all I need to do is just close it. Sorry, the OneDrive path, so I just need to close it. But because it's on OneDrive, I can share this externally as well for co-authoring. At the moment, if I wanted to open a document from Actionstep, I can just come up here and click open, and actually that will then invoke the plugin for me to actually search. So if I go 354, for example, the matter there, that will search for that matter. There it is there. And then I can actually see the documents that are actually in a particular folder structure, and then open them up directly from Word.
That is fantastic. It's a fantastic looking system with, almost everything that I could have thought of already in there. So I'm really excited to see how this plays out, and particularly once the class integrations are sort of completed. Yep. But thank you. I will sort of close it off there, and thank you so much, Greg and Disha, for sharing your expertise and talking us through this software today. We can tell by the number of questions that people are very, very engaged and interested in this subject. So potentially we'll hold another session in the future once things are a little more developed, and we can go through any additional questions or features that you might have by then.
That sounds really good.
Great. But on behalf of everyone who joined us today, thank you again so much. As I mentioned earlier, this recording will be up on our website later, and there'll be a short survey that will pop up and once I close this one down. So thank you again, everyone, and have a great Tuesday.
Thank you all, and thank you so much, Carly, for arranging an amazing webinar. Yeah.
Bye-bye.
See you later.
Cheers. Bye all.